Hello, everyone. This is Dr. B from Steps to the Future, coming to you with this week's College and Career Conversations with Dr. B. I am thrilled for folks that are here joining us today. Those of you that are watching this on the replay, please make sure you send in your comments that you may have. Just because you can't be here live doesn't mean you can't participate in the conversation. I am really thrilled to have the guests that we have with us this evening. We met at different business networking opportunities and what have you, and actually haven't seen each other for a while. So I am really thrilled that he is here with us this evening. After this little break here, I'll come back and I will introduce you to our guests. So, again, make sure you're sharing this out with people so that they can also join in the conversation. Okay, everyone, and we are back. And I'd love to introduce my guest, Issac Allen, with us today. I'm going to give you a short bio. I mean, it could be a lot longer, but a short bio of who Issac is so that you get to know him. So just bear with me, folks, while I read. I put on a different pair of glasses today, and these aren't as clear as my other ones. So if you see me squinting, that's why. So Issac was born and raised in the Fayetteville area. He earned his Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from North Carolina State University. After college, Issac began working for International Business Machines, otherwise known as IBM, in the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina, where he held technical and management positions for many years. Before Stalwart Financial Planning, Issac worked for a financial services and accounting firm where he began developing and building his career as a financial planner. Issac is dedicated to making a difference in the financial lives of others and truly believes through proper planning, most families can reach their financial goals. They just must start planning now. Oh, Issac, that quote there is music to my ears because working with young folks who want to attend college and haven't thought about how they're going to pay for it. It's all about planning. So thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It's great, and I really am happy to be here, and I really am appreciative for the invite to join such a great group.
Thank you, thank you. So Issac, I like to start out first of all, just asking you, what are you grateful for today? You know, we've all gone through some crazy stuff the last couple of years.
Well, I'm just grateful for family and friends, and one of the great things about friends, just talking to recently a friend that I met actually in college. It was a young man that I met during my orientation, and we were the same major. We've stayed in touch, and I was just thinking, man, you probably my closest, longest friend. And we were just talking the other day about how grateful and nice that was. And then also from family, and of course my wife. She's always my biggest cheerleader and encourager, and trying to say, hey, go out and do this or do the next step. And that's kind of how I got on my current career path as a financial planner.
That's fantastic. So before we get into your career piece, tell us a little bit about, your high school years leading into your college years. Um, did you always know that you were going to attend college?
I pretty much always knew I was going to attend college. I went to Cape Fear High School right
Okay.
down there. I'm one of the mighty Colts from Cape Fear High School, and I grew up in the small town of Wade, and always knew we were going to go to college. And I can remember sitting around the dinner table and my dad asking us all where we wanted to go and where we were going to go to school. And we're just kind of talking about it. And I can even remember one instance where my brother, he came out, he said he wasn't going to go to college. And my dad said, yes, you are. And we sat there at that table until he would admit that he was going to go to college. But the whole idea was that it was an important piece, at least for our family at the time, is that they go to college. And my parents, they did not attend college. So it was a big point and emphasis for them to have kids that did go on to go to college.
Okay, so graduate of Cape Fear out here in my neck of the woods. So from Cape Fear to North Carolina State, how did you choose North Carolina State?
Well, North Carolina State ended up being a fairly easy choice. At the time, I had older siblings, and one of them had actually gone to UNC Chapel Hill. And I was a UNC kind of basketball fan at the time, and I wanted to attend there. But I was going to school, and I actually, at first, when I was growing up, I thought I wanted to be an attorney, a lawyer. And I was thinking about maybe even going to Wake Forest. And I joined a law explorer troop, and they were partners up
Mhm.
with other law professionals in the area, and we're going through that. And then one day we're at school, someone had brought up a computer, and I didn't know anything about it. And the other kids just seemed to know a little more than I did. And it just really motivated me to learn more. I said, hey, I like that. And then I learned how to do some programming, and it was kind of math oriented. And then I decided, hey, I want to change and switch up. And so I ended up going to NC State. Now, my parents said you go to school, but it was like, you're going to go to an in-state school. You aren't going to go to somewhere else. And when we go and look through the brochures, computer science was kind of new at the time. And NC State was the state school that provided computer science. And so that's how I chose NC State. It wasn't my first choice. So NC State chose me. And, I'm with the Go Pack and NC
Okay.
State. So NC State chose me. I didn't necessarily choose NC State initially, but I've grown to be a great Wolfpack fan.
All right, great. We have Deborah Franklin here with us. I just wanted to say a shout out to Deborah. Hello, Deborah. Thank you for joining us. You're a regular watcher, so we certainly appreciate you being here. Don't forget, if you have any questions, make sure you let us know what those questions are. So once you got to NC State, what types of activities did you do besides going to class? And the reason I ask this is I'm always telling my students when they're looking at colleges, they need to be thinking about beyond the classroom. Yes, what you're going to major in, the academics, definitely, that's why you're there. But you're not just going to go to class and go back to your room. You're going to do something. So, what kinds of activities, clubs, organizations were you involved in during your time at NC State?
Well, one of the big things that's kind of odd, NC State, they had these different P's and activities that you could go into and attend. So they had some that were required, but one of the things I wanted to do was to take some of these different P's every semester I was there. And so when I was in high school, they also had this PE type physical education where it says lifelong sports. And so one of the things I wanted to do was to learn sports that I could not do or did not have exposure to previously.
Okay.
So while I was there one semester, I learned how to fence. I
Oh,
didn't know, learned about the epee, the
okay.
sabre, the foil. I didn't know anything about that. Learned how to snorkel, scuba dive was one of the big things going. I learned how to rock climb, and so I also learned how to play golf. And so I took time to try to do these other activities that I thought I could do at a different point I didn't have typical exposure to. So that was one of my big things to go through, and then to go out and try to participate in those activities even a little more, even outside of the classroom.
Oh, I love that idea of doing that because, again, we get so locked into what's around us, or, our options may be narrow. So we have to go ahead and participate in what's available to us. So I love that idea. The whole idea of fencing. I mean, that's a pretty cool sport. Fencing. Yeah. So
Yeah, it is.
did you keep any of them up?
Oh, scuba diving. I did a lot of scuba diving afterwards, and it became a hobby that allowed me to travel many places and go many places and actually have that as part of the activity that I did. I did rock climbing for quite some time, but eventually
Oh,
that kind of faded away. And sailing was one, and golf. I played a lot of golf at one
okay.
point in time, also that I kind of picked up while I was there.
So during your time at NC State, I know one of the things we talk to students all the time now is seeing if they have opportunities to do internships or informational interviews or anything to help them figure out if the career that they're thinking about is the correct career. Or I shouldn't say correct, because God, we change our careers like, you know, like I change classes sometimes. So did you have an opportunity to do any type of internships or research with any professors?
I did not get a chance to do an internship, and that's one of the things I probably regret that I didn't do. I
Okay.
wish I had gone through and taken the time, but at my point, and I was thinking, man, I got to go 4 years of college to come out. I got to get out here as quick as I can, quick as I
Mm.
can. And I was very fortunate, and there was the head of the computer science department. His name was Dr. Don Martin. He said, "Man, I've been seeing you around all here. Here, come here. I got a job opportunity for you."
Oh,
And so he
okay.
came in and he says, "I want you to be a TA, or do a lab assistant. So we're going to run a lab,
Mhm.
and we're going to run this special program here at NC State." And what he did was they created this class that was called CSC 200, but it was just for minority students in computer science because they had missed so many of them.
Okay.
They had changed majors, and we went through, and they in addition to their initial starter class, they had a special class where we just went in, and they had a couple other African Americans who was in computer science who were upperclassmen to come in and be the lab instructors for them. And the amazing part is that I see some of these students that their class today. Um, there's at least 10 of them I know working in the profession that I still know and can keep in touch
Okay.
of. And two of the females are actually PhDs in computer science.
Oh,
So amazing.
fantastic.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Where they had very few to, I think it was a very successful program in the end. Took many years to realize, but now I think that was a very successful program that Dr. Martin had started.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I mean, right now, computer science is one of the most competitive programs at schools across the United States to get into. So I'm always encouraging students, if you're interested in computer science, then what are you doing outside of school? How are you going to demonstrate that interest to the college that you're interested in computer science? Because again, it's such a competitive and very popular major these days. I mean, you can write your own ticket sometimes with a degree in computer science. So what else did you? So you lived on campus, right?
I lived on campus. I stayed. Also, one of the things I was there, I stayed on campus, and part of that was I was part of this mentor program they had at NC State, where African American students were actually signed an upperclassman mentor to actually work with and talk to, and to be able to try to show them the ropes to be able to say how to go through the program. And so to do that, I would still continue to be staying on campus so that you
Okay.
could still interact with those students as they came through. And I'm actually a person that went through that program, and I loved it so much. I actually married my mentor, my wife. She was a upperclassman. She was actually a computer science year ahead of me, and so we ended up dating and ended up married. So I married my mentor. That's how good of a program it was.
Okay, so that's another plus of going to NC State. So actually, Deborah was just joining in the conversation and was talking about how much she liked archery when she was in high school and college, and had the opportunity to wanted to continue it, but they only offered youth classes. Oh, so they have adult classes now, and you're too busy now, Deborah. See, that's what we have to do. We have to try to find time to engage in some of those self-care activities, because I'm sure that concentration on trying to hit that target in archery will help, with some of the self-care that we need to do for ourselves. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
that is,
you're
yeah,
good.
that's a fun sport. I do remember taking archery when I was in high school, or
Okay.
that being part of the PE. It was a very fun sport. I wasn't very
Okay.
good at it, but it was a very fun sport. You have to take it back up, Deborah.
I know it exactly. So Deborah, you get a chance, find the time, even if you just go to one class. We have to try to get out there and make sure that we keep ourselves energized, because we can work ourselves to death. We know that. So once you left NC State, you went on to work at the Research Triangle. So tell me a little bit about the work that you did there, and was it a job that you were able to get right out of school? Did the career services at NC State help you prepare to get ready for that position?
The career services, in a way, helped, and the way it kind of worked like this. Before, as I said, I used to hang around the the classroom there, or the dean's office, and the dean came by and said, "Hey, I got a job for you to help these other students." And then one day I was also just hanging out there, and someone had called up an undergraduate administrator to say, "Hey, do you have any good students that may be able to do a job?" And she said, "Hey, come on in here, talk to this guy on the phone." And we talked to him on the phone. I went and got a job and went through, and he hired me, and then he recommended me for some other jobs. So that's how my connection went through. It was a job that I got while I was still in college. So it was kind of I said, no, I didn't do a summer internship, but I did work as kind of a part-time job doing that. And then eventually that led into a full-time assignment working for me. So that's how I got my first steps into doing a job and getting a chance to get into computer science at IBM.
Okay, that's great. So you just, in what you were just saying, you just brought to light like two things: the importance of mentoring. You had the opportunity to mentor, and then people were mentoring you, and also the networking. Like, students, people think of networking as a dirty word. I know when I first went into business and we would have our networking events, I hated them. Oh my goodness. I'm like, this feels like, it feels like speed dating. Pass out your business card, go to the next one, pass out your business card. But networking is essential. It's essential while you're in college. It's essential when you get out of college, and it's essential throughout your lifetime, because you never know who you're going to connect with through networking. So by hanging out around that dean's office, they saw something in you. They saw, oh, I know this guy. We know what kind of work ethic this guy has. We're able to see his character. So we're very comfortable with referring him on to somebody. So that's so important. So folks out there that are listening, young folks, be a mentor, get a mentor. It's so important to do that, and find ways and opportunities to network. I know when I've talked with students that are interested in pre-med, and they said they want to become a doctor. And I said, well, of course this was pre-COVID, things are a little different now. But I would say, well, ask your doctor if you can shadow them for one day.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that. I said, well, don't you have a doctor? Do you have a doctor? And they said, yes. I said, then ask that doctor. And if that doctor isn't able to do it, they can certainly ask people in their network. I said, but that's how you get the ball rolling. And you never know, that might lead to a work opportunity, just like it did for you. Just like it did for you.
Very true.
So tell us a little bit about those early work years.
The early work years, it ended up being, even though college had taught me a lot of things, it ended up being very different once I got into the work environment. And I worked in a network, and I'll never forget, I worked on this project. It was, or the actual product was called a 3174 subsystem controller. And people like, what in the world does that do? And way back when everybody had a mainframe, they tied into this computer terminal. And this is what allowed the computer terminal to talk to the mainframe computer. And going through and doing that was kind of how it started out. And it was fun. I remember I actually went and talked to a financial planner, my wife and they said, when do you want to retire? I said, I never want to retire. I love this job so much. I want to work till I'm 88, doing this. I really did. I really loved it. And then from there, we ended up being able to work on some new products. It was the whole routing networking was coming through, and I got to work up and early on in the early networking years, building IBM's first router, coming in through with new technology, trying to implement new technology, being sometimes successful, being sometimes not so successful, and doing those things. And those were fun times. I think back about them. Sometimes I'll be working 50, 60 hours a week, but they really were some of the most fun times in my career at that time. You would think it was not, but thinking back now, they were, because it was just such a chance to learn, such camaraderie with everybody working, just pulling towards one specific goal.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things about working, because so much of our time is spent, so many hours of our day are spent working. It really helps if you like what you do. And it's so nice when you're somewhere and you're in there with your colleagues and you're working on a project and you just get into that flow. And it doesn't feel like work, even though it is work. I remember my youngest son had me laughing one time because we were just talking about, and this is when he was, I don't think he had finished college yet, but he was trying to figure out if he wanted to go into teaching or if he just wanted to go into athletics. And so we were talking about liking what you do. And he said, well, at our house, he goes, I can always tell which of you like your jobs better, you or dad. He said, on Sundays, he said, because on Sundays, he goes, around 5 or 6 o'clock, dad would go, oh man, I got to get up and go to this job tomorrow. Man, I hate getting up this, blah, blah, blah. He goes, and you'll be running around going, whoa, yay, school tomorrow, school tomorrow. And I said, no, I didn't do that. He goes, oh, yes, you did. He goes, you did that. And I said, well, I guess that's because I loved I loved being a teacher. I loved being a high school counselor. So I think it's so important to be able to find something that fills you like that, because it's so important to be able to have that passion. And sometimes that's a word I don't like. I know at my age, I know I have a passion for what I do because I've been doing it long enough. I think younger folks are still trying to figure out what their passions are. They haven't had, I don't think, enough experiences in life yet to say, this is it. I mean, there may be some students that do, but for the most part, when you're 16, 17, you're still trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, you are. And it can change. It really can change over time also.
Yes. So how did you flip from computer science to financial planning?
Well, it goes back to that piece, having that passion that we were talking about for the job. Went through, and in the networking area, I probably if IBM had kept in the networking business, I would still be there trying to do that now. But things changed. They didn't keep up as fast. There were some competitors, and then they sold that business to a group of competitors. And then I went and started doing some storage, kind of like hard drive, where people were doing cloud computing, did some of that. And then eventually I went to another group that was totally different than anything I worked in. And even though IBM had treated me well, I wasn't very happy. I went from being very, very happy to being very, very unhappy. And I can remember going in to work, and I get ready to open the door, and I'll yell out, I hate this job. And then I'll open the door, and my wife just got tired of me moping around the house saying that. And she said, you really need to do something about it. And so at that point, I started thinking about, what do I like to do? Or I could go to another company that did something similar. And I'd always wanted to be in business for myself. And I said, what do I like to do? What do I think I may have a real interest or passion about? And doing finances and stock investing, that was one of the things that I did like. And so I said, how can I take and turn this into a business and a career and a hobby, or more than a hobby? And at that point, I went back to study what I wanted to do, went back to school, got a certification in financial planning, And then I passed the exams to be able to do that. And at that point, I had to make the decision, if I really want to do that, I had to get at least 3 years of full-time experience
Oh, okay.
within so many years of passing the exam. So it was, you can't do it part-time. You got to make the switch.
Okay.
And then I went and talked to a gentleman, Ed Fulbright, and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. And what are your thoughts? And he says, hold on. He was he was already in the professor. He said, hold on, I might have an opportunity for you. You may be able to come here and work with me and then learn the business. And that's what I did. I went in and worked with him. He was very gracious, taught me the ropes, allowed me to come in, interact with some of his clients as I got that. And eventually I went in, got my credentials as a certified financial planner, worked a little bit longer. And then what my full desire was to always run my own financial planning firm. And so eventually I went out on my own and did that.
Okay. So for folks out there that, I know we've all heard of a certified financial planner, but tell me, what are some of the duties? What are some of the responsibilities of a certified financial planner? Like, what does your day look like?
My day looked like, and what some people ask, what is a financial planner? How can you help me do? I said, well, the biggest thing is, what are the goals that you have? What are the things you want to do? We go out and we make money, but we don't make money just all count it up in the bank and say, hey, I got X amount of money. We do our lives, we do our careers, we do everything to try to reach certain goals. And then my job is to tell you, how do we go from where you are now to where you want to be? And then how much more do you have to save? Do you have to save a lot, or is it a matter of time? And we always think of it as the amount and the time horizon to get there. And we, naturally you say, hey, I save $1 every day. Yeah, you'll have $1 million, but it'll take you that many days, to get there. But what if we can do something to try to accelerate that? And so those are the things we try to look at. What are all the aspects of your life where it's from your taxes, being able to do the right thing? Do you have the right estate plan? Do you have a will in place? Do you have a power of attorney in place? Because those will have impacts. Do you have the right amount of life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance? You have children, you want them to go to college, and it's much more likely that they will attend college if you have some type of college savings plan. And if you do that, they're very much more likely. And then what is the best way for you to save for them to go to college? Is it a 529 plan? Is it a balance? And then also, how do you balance saving for college and saving for retirement? That's always a big obstacle. And we try to go through, weigh that, plot those pieces. And then, when can you retire? And those are the things I try to help clients say, okay, here are the goals. Then how do we take the financial picture and put that and say, hey, let's make it a reality? Because it's a lot easier to envision things when you go through and say, wow, I want to do that. And then you start seeing those pieces come and say, I have the ability. And now you can really start to dream. So you can, you can get rid of the fear and then really allow the dreams to start happening. And I tell clients that all the time. When we get there, and I'll say, what do you want to do? What are the things you want? They say, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Isaac. I said, okay, we're going to keep working. And then once I start telling you, hey, you're going to be okay. You're going to start dreaming bigger. And more importantly, you're going to start doing those things. And I think the same thing with, college funding for families. They ask the children, they say, yeah, I want to go. Where do you want to go to school? Well, I don't know. Where do kids want to go to school? I don't know. But once you start saying, hey, I got the means to be able to allow you to go to school, then they start thinking about these different colleges, different careers. And then they start thinking about all those things. And I think that's so important to think that. When I was a young boy growing up in Wade, I thought, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, and maybe a little later I learned you can be an engineer. But how many different types of engineers can you be?
I know.
When I went to college, there was so many different engineers. I said, I didn't even know. I thought you could be an electrical engineer, and that was it. And being able to have that exposure and that ability to dream and now explore, I think is very important. So I may not answer your question directly, but it allows people to go through, take their finances, understand, be able to get their goals, and then really be able to dream bigger and expand their goals and get more definition to what that reality may be for them.
I love that. I love that, being able to dream bigger. That is so important. So actually, Deborah had a question about something that you said earlier. Let me see if I can get this on the screen. So when you talked about you had to get 3 years experience. So she wanted to know, it helped her understand why you had to get those 3 years of experience.
Okay. So to be a certified financial planner, and one of the big things with financial planning is they want to make financial planning a profession, meaning it has different criteria to really be able to be similar to, like, say, the profession of a CPA. And one of the things they have now is that you have to have a 4-year degree to be a certified financial planner. So part of that rule setting is that you have to have a 4-year degree. You have to go back and do the training to go to a certified place to get the training and education to be a certified financial planner. Then they want you to pass the exam. And then part of that is the next piece is to say that you have work experience, because you wouldn't want someone who's being a professional, call themselves a certified financial planner, just to be able to pop up tomorrow and say, hey, I can go there and I can help you with your finances. They want people to be a real professional, to have a broad exposure, and to have some real life experience before they can really go out and say that they are a CFP professional. So there's a lot of pride in making it what they want to call it. It's the gold standard. Anybody can call themselves a financial advisor or something, but to say, hey, I'm a true financial planning professional, the CFP is the mark and the gold standard that they want it to be.
Yeah. I love what you just said about anybody could hang out a shingle and say that this is what I am. But it's important to know that this person is certified, that this person has not just gone through the training, but like you said, they have the experience. So they've had the opportunity to see different scenarios, so they know how to help families when different things come up. That's your money. And if you want folks to be able to dream big, you have to be able to take care of their money for them. You don't want them to dream big and then the next thing you know, the savings are all gone because your financial planner didn't have that experience that you need. So we have another question from the audience. This is a good one because it's, this is huge with young folks. How do we get teenagers interested in financial education and impress upon them the importance of saving? Thank you so much for that question, Debolina.
Yeah. For me, one of the easiest ways is to find out what products, children are interested in. Like sometimes they're saying, oh, I really want these Nike shoes. Let's go out and buy a share of Nike. Right now it's so easy to come and open up a brokerage account. There's no fee. You can come to me and I'll go through and say, let me help you open up a brokerage account. There's no fee. I'll tell you how to do it for free. Then you have to just buy one share, and then you can buy one share and then allow the teenager child to follow along as that company moves. What decisions do they make? And then if they see it growing, they can see, wow, that's how it can be. And then they get to see, how hard did I have to work for this company to go up maybe 50%? Not a lot, but my investment did. I let my money work for me. And I think that's one of the great ways to get them at least excited on the stock side. And then, of course, teaching them about credit and the positive things and dangers on that side. But I think learning about the stock market and how it moves is one of the things that get people excited. At least that's what got me so excited.
Okay. I love that idea of giving I'm thinking now, for a birthday present, giving a young person, a share of a stock, as long as we can afford it, but, and getting them and letting them follow the trajectory of that stock and see, is it going up? Is it going down? What's happening? That's a kind of neat idea. So as a follow-up question, what age would you suggest for someone to open up a savings or a brokerage account?
That's a a crazy question in a way, and it's probably I have a biased answer, and the answer is going to be as soon as possible. And the reason
Okay.
why is that one of the people sometimes I give these discussions or teach these classes, and I always start out say, people ask Isaac, how do I make money? And I always tell them it it takes time and
Mm,
compounding interest. And compounding interest is let your interest make interest, let your dividends make dividends, and then the other one is time. And if you can,
mhm,
the earlier you can start, you can leverage that time, and it becomes a multiple because savings, because growth in the stock market isn't linear, it's exponential. And if
mm,
you go through, it's just like a snowball. If you take and you earn and you roll that snowball, it gets bigger and bigger. And every revolution gets much bigger
mhm.
than when you start. So you want to be able to get that snowball rolling as you're younger. And then once you get older, you got really have a lot of power in that leverage of compounding interest at that point in time.
Okay. So how old is there a minimum age where someone can have a share in a stock, or is that something where an adult would buy it for the young person?
Yeah, so for most part, the easiest way to do it is to open up what they're called an UTMA account or accounts
Okay.
a trust for minors, and now in the state of North Carolina, you open the trust, it's in there, and then when the child becomes the age of majority in that state, those items become the child. So if you
Okay.
got a share or two, then they would own it at 18. But prior to that, they would be able to see it. They could open the account. So you could come in, and as long as they have a social security number, you could open up a UPMA account, a UTMA
Okay.
account for a child for them to have and to be able to go
Okay.
forward.
All right, that's good. That's good to know. So, going back to, like you said, you decided that you always wanted to have your own business. And so you became certified, did your 3 years of experience. How difficult or how easy was it to be your own boss?
Uh, Becoming my own boss, I learned so many things that I didn't know, and about running a business and growing a practice that I really didn't know. And to go back and to think about one of the things I really like the technical side, solving the problems of financial planning, just like you did when you had a computer problem and you had to
Mhm.
try to solve that. That was one piece. But the other part where I was so lacking in when I first started a business was okay, here on the business side, how do you do marketing? How do you go out and just
Mm,
like we met in networking? That wasn't part of being a software engineer. They just put you in a cave. You went out there and just pounded things out
yeah.
and got the answer. Whereas being in business now, you got to go out and network more, understand, be able to help others, and then to be able to allow them to help you in turn to be able to go out and reach new people and other things. So that took some time. So going in and starting the business, that part, and one of the things when I was at IBM, they were they treated me very well. They compensated me very well. So being able to go out and on the financial side and be able to start a business wasn't
Okay.
difficult. And my wife, she was continuing to work and she was very supportive. So the financial piece we had okay, but it was more the everyday running of the business, having to
Mhm.
learn that, and that was probably another master class into itself. Just kind of learning and doing that and trying to get tidbits from others on how to do that. And
Right.
probably if I had to do it all over again, probably would have went back and tried to learn more about that before I really went out on that
Okay.
total venture. That was probably the thing I would try to do differently in my journey.
One of the nice things now for young folks or anyone that wants to start a business, so many colleges or organizations have where you can get a certificate in entrepreneurship. So they will
Yes.
teach you how to do that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a 4 year degree. So there are so many opportunities now to learn.
Yes.
I know one of the things I used to love. is pre-pandemic, of course, with everything, is going Fayetteville Technical Community College, going to their
Yes.
small business web
Yes.
seminars in the evenings, going to their 1 million cups and hearing about other businesses and helping them solve their problems. So now there's so much out there that's available to anybody that wants to start a business. You just have to get out there, find those opportunities. But for anybody out there that's thinking about it, do know that your community college is a
Yes.
godsend for information about starting a business. I know, I used to see Isaac at 1 million cups and at some of the other events that Fayetteville Technical Community College would have, but and it was free at no cost,
Yes,
because it
exactly.
was through the Small Business Association. So they were required to have these courses or seminars available to people, and it was at no cost. So all you had to do is go in there and spend your time. And Kent and the other people that work there are so eager to help people learn how to run a business. And then we have the Women's Center downtown on Hay Street that helps with businesses. So it's really, nowadays, it's I wouldn't say it's easy, but the resources are out there. The
That's true.
resources are definitely out there. Um, just the other day I was doing a score webinar, and I always forget what the acronym for it, but I know it's retired executives who volunteer to help people learn how to run their businesses, and they do some fantastic webinars, and it's SCORE, SCORE, and anybody can watch the webinars, and again, at no cost. You can even get a SCORE mentor to sit down with you and help you go through whatever issues, problems that you're having, challenges with your business. So it's a lot different. I wish, like you said, I think before I started my business, if I knew then what I know now, I definitely would have I would have learned that business part, the marketing part, and all of that stuff better, instead of learning it on the job.
Yes,
Lot,
yes.
lot of trial and error.
Yes, because I went through, and part of I was technical IBM, and then had moved into management. Now had read somewhere said if you want to own your own business, one day you should probably get a management position. So I went through and I said, oh, I probably, I checked off that particular mark, but there was so many aspects outside of just running for a technical management position that, like you said, running your own business, the marketing and all that was very different. That was all new to me when I started. And there are some great resources out there. And if you can take advantage of that, if you're starting out, most definitely do that. They're well worth it.
So when COVID hit, how did you pivot in your business?
Well, at first I was like, oh, this won't last very long. So I'll just be here for a couple of weeks and then I'll go back into the office. And then as we was going out, and I already had some clients where maybe I had a client locally and they had introduced me to their sibling or something that was somewhere else. And so at that point, I started leveraging being able to go out on the internet and being able to do Zoom type calls and interfacing and do that. And then once I started being able to market in some of these other areas, people started coming to me saying, hey, can you help? Can you do this? I see that you may be working with this type of client. And then they just started coming. And I was surprised. And then when I say, yeah, I can work with you remotely. You don't have to come in to this office. And they're like, really? Yeah, no, yeah, you don't have to do that. And at that point, it just started to grow. And then at first I was thinking, oh, this would just be able to last a little bit. Now it seems much more like it may be still a focal part of my business going forward. And right now I have 2 office spaces, and that's kind of going to be a big question. Once all this is over, what do I do with the actual physical office space? Will I go and just be kind of remote, and I know it has some pluses and minuses because people still want to know that you're kind of local
Right.
in the area. So having that physical space can help, but how much I use it is different. So that's going to become another one. But just going through and trial and error and getting a few successes allowed me to kind of do the pivot. It was a little different. And if you probably look at my picture, I started even said I wasn't going to go to the barber shop, and I said I'm going to grow this pandemic hair until I go back into the office. And probably my wife is ready for me to go back into the office so I can get
I
a
know.
regular haircut.
I know, it's so funny because I was, as before we started the program, I haven't seen Isaac in a while. When he came on the screen, I'm like, whoa, that's a new hairdo for you. So again, a lot of us did that. At one point I did, my fro was growing. I had a fro going. I was trying to get my Angela Davis fro on and let it grow for a while. And then I ended up cutting it because I just got bored with it. But I think I might try to grow it back. I don't know. So for folks who are interested in getting more information from Issac Allen, you can see here his Twitter handle, so you can reach him there, and also on Facebook. Follow him on Facebook and definitely reach out to him there. So think about that. So Isaac, one of the things I always like to do is I always like to ask folks about a book that they would recommend. And you recommended The Tipping Point, How Little Things Can Make a Big Difference by Malcolm Gladwell. I love that book. So tell us a little bit about that book and tell us why you chose that book.
Part of the reason it was just a fascinating book when I went and started reading it, and sometimes you think that people have to be very special to do something. They were talking about like the people who win Nobel prizes, and it's like you can kind of come from NC State and win a Nobel Prize. You can come from a small place. You just have to be kind of motivated and dedicated in there to be able to do that. And so it just went to point out that there's so many little things that are out there that kind of lead to all these bigger things, and now putting all these in place really kind of go out and try to make that difference. And that's what I loved about The Tipping Point, was just seeing these things building up and saying, wow, that's what really makes a difference. But you just have to be consistent and do it. Was the main thing I got out of there.
That is so true. I love Malcolm Gladwell's books. I love his podcast, Revisionist History, and other things that he does. I'm a big Malcolm Gladwell fan. So I said, I love, and this is one that, and I've read this one. I think I've read all of his books except maybe one. I'll have to check to see which one that is. So Isaac, if you were to give a young person some advice who, first of all, wanted to be a certified financial planner, and then second of all, wanted to go into business for themselves, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, anyone who wants to be a financial planner, if you're looking about that career, and as I said, they really want to make it a profession. And what we're seeing now is there are a lot of universities that are allowing majors in personal financial planning. And that's, there really wasn't something like that when I was coming along. And that's going to give you that training and that education to be able to do that. And a lot of those programs and curricular will allow the student to come out with already passing the education and the exam portion of that. And then if they can go on and get with someone who's a certified financial planner, so say even like myself, instead of having to do the 3 years of experience, now if you work with a certified financial planner, they allow you to get the credentials in just 2 years instead of going for the full 3. So I would definitely recommend trying to find someone and doing that. And then even in financial planning realm, there's different pieces. Like I'm a fee-only financial planner, and trying to understand the nuances of that versus what you really want to go into. And I know when I came out as a computer science major, sometimes they, I just want a job, but it's really, what do you really want to work in? And I kind of work in an area where we were doing things like microcoding and a very low level piece of software, and those were the things that I enjoyed more. And my wife, she was a computer science, and she worked in what we call, desk or the visual piece where you're doing and sliding around and touching the widgets on the computer screen, and they're just so different types of areas. So going in and finding that, and then if you want to go in, is really kind of get that experience and work with someone and work in different areas, get a wide variety of experience, so you know kind of what you like and maybe what you don't like. And one of the things I did when I was working for the accounting firm, CPA firm, I found I didn't really like doing tax returns. And that's what, you might have to do them, but I didn't like doing that.
Right.
It's going to be something you're going to have to find out that you may want to do something different. So getting a wide breadth of experience and then deciding what are the things that you really like. And then once you go out and go into business, don't be afraid to specialize. And if you specialize, those are usually better things for you. And they can't tell you that enough. Go through and try to get a focus or a niche and specialize.
Okay, thank you for that. That's really interesting about making sure that you have the opportunity to specialize. But I like what you said about getting experience or finding out about different aspects of being a financial planner, because you can do something different. Now, in backing up a little bit, one of the things you said is that you're a fee only certified financial planner. What does that mean for people that aren't familiar with that?
Well, a fee only, one of the buzzwords now is that when you go out into financial is to find you a financial fiduciary. And the word fiduciary, it means being more like your doctor or your attorney. You're doing what's in the best interest of the client, or putting the client's interests ahead of your own. And so as a fee only, I don't receive any commissions. I don't receive any kickbacks. I don't receive any referral fees. So my only compensation is based on the advice that I give you. And so what we try to do by separating the giving of advice from the actual investment vehicle, it allows you hopefully to get more unbiased advice, where the advice is really for your benefit. And it's not, oh, if I sell this one, I'm going to get a bigger commission than I have you in this other mutual fund. So I'm going to steer you towards mutual fund B instead of mutual fund A. And mutual fund A may be a better part. And I had a client, he came to me and he was going through, he said, Isaac, you told me that I should pay off my credit card bill versus putting it into this brokerage account where you would get asset under management and you could get a larger fee. He said, why would you do that when you could get paid more the other way? And I said, because I'm a fiduciary. Remember, I came out, I'm a fiduciary. I'm going to do what's in your best interest. I got to put your interest ahead of mine. It's going to be better for you to pay off those other bills before you try to put even more in that investment savings account at this point. And it's definitely true for him. It was a better idea for him to pay off the loan first.
And that's an important distinction to make. I know for young folks, as they're thinking about what type of careers they may be interested in, hearing that there's a difference between a fee only and someone that's doing commissions, and having you explain it like that gives them the opportunity to say, oh, so is that what I want to do? Is that how I want to set up my business? Is that how I want to be able to work with my clients? So I thank you for giving us that information, because I don't think in my house growing up, there wasn't a lot of conversation around financial planning. And it really wasn't until as an adult that I started paying some attention to it. But I really didn't know about fee only until I met you. I think you're right. I think you're the first person I met that has that business model. There might have been other people I met, but this is the first time when I met you years ago that I first realized, oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, and it is a business model, and I think there used to be a stat that said it was less than 1% of all people who call themselves financial planners were fee only, and I think it's about 1.2% of the people who are out there calling themselves financial planners are Feeonly. And then the other caveat for me is I do it by the hour. And I think there's
Okay.
a group that I'm a member of, and there's probably like 125 of us throughout the country.
Okay. So tell me, so I'm a huge proponent of lifelong learning. I mean, I sometimes I think with this with everything being virtual, I OD on professional development because there's a webinar every day. I mean, if I want to visit a college in California, I'm sure there's a webinar on it. I know there's one next week that I could do, actually this week on one of the universities in the UK. So I mean, there's so much. What type of professional development do you do to keep your skills fresh and sharp?
Okay. Well, I'm a member of a few groups. Like I said, I'm a certified financial planner. And for us, we have to get 30 hours every 2 years.
Okay.
I'm part of another group called NAPFA, and we have to get 60 hours every two
Okay.
years. And then I'm in some other groups where we have to get another 30. So in between, I usually get at least 30 hours of professional development every year. And like I said, I attend a lot of conferences. There's conferences is a great way to go,
Yes.
be able to network, see, get a little travel. It's a little different here during COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of them are virtual, but you get such a wide variety of different aspects of how to look at things and even in financial planning, there's some things that I thought were like, oh, it's taboo. I would never have my clients going there. And now I've done a 180 once someone said, hey, here may be a different way. Don't think
Mhm.
about it this other way. You got to think about it in this different way. And it may be beneficial for some clients with the right needs. It means it may be a good fit. And one of those was a reverse mortgage. I said, I would never recommend a reverse
Yeah.
mortgage to a client. And then they showed, hey, here's another way. And then for some, it may be the right
It may
solution.
be. Yeah.
For some, and it was surprising. And then they did some studies. They talk about these MIT method. They just said how it could really save somebody's retirement by actually being able to
Okay.
use it. So it was unbelievable.
Okay. Yes, professional development is crucial because just like you said, something that you wouldn't have done when you first started out, now that you've learned more about it and see how that it does work for some clients and that it is the best vehicle for some clients, um, then you're more comfortable recommending that to someone. So it's so important. So if any students that are listening to this or watching any of the other conversations, it's important for you to know that your education doesn't end when you graduate from college. You even I
Exactly.
don't care if you have a terminal degree, if you go on and get a doctorate, you are still learning because it's so important to stay up to date on what's happening in your profession because things change. In a minute, I mean, from when I first started when I first started as a high school counselor way back in the day to today as an independent educational consultant, college admission has changed and it's changing as we speak. I mean, my colleagues and I spend so much time on our dedicated Facebook groups sharing information. And, first thing in the morning, I've got to read, the issue of Inside Higher Ed or, no, or the Chronicle of Higher Education. And then another one's Inside Higher Ed because things are changing all the time. So it's
Yes.
so important to like stay up to date on what's happening.
Yes,
So
yes, most definitely. And I think that's part of being a professional. I think,
yes,
part of being a certified, trying to turn a profession is that you got to have that continuing education and making it
yes,
part
you do.
of being a professional. And it is an important part, I think.
Yeah. Well, Isaac, this has been wonderful having you on. I hope that your business continues to thrive and be successful. I am so glad that you were able to pivot during COVID because some folks' businesses don't allow for them to pivot.
True.
We're just fortunate that we're in the type of businesses that do allow us. Where virtual will work for you. I mean, I miss seeing my kids in person, but I do see some of my kids in person, but not all. So, um, This has been a great conversation. I think for students that have strong math skills, that love to solve problems, um, thinking about a career as a certified planner is definitely something that you should think about. And again, if you're interested in getting more information or following along with Isaac on social media, there is his Twitter handle there and also his Facebook page at Stalwart Financial Planning. So, folks, thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for tuning in this evening for the conversation. I thank Deborah and Debelina for their questions. It really helps to have people out there that are asking questions to keep this going. And we have a thank you there. Thank you, Debelina. I appreciate that. Isaac, she's thanking you for sharing your knowledge,
Yes, I
experience, and
see that.
insight.
Thank
So
you. You're
this was
welcome.
really good. So again, folks, if you're watching this live, share it out. If you're watching this on the replay, please make sure you share it out also. I thank everyone for joining in, and I will definitely see you next week for another college and career conversation. Isaac, just stay on for a minute while I end this broadcast, and I'll see all you folks next Monday. Oh, wait a minute. Before I go, I just thought of something. This is Black History Month, and one of the things I wanted to share with folks is that master class. And Isaac, when you said something, you said master class. I said, oh, I got to remember to say this. Master class actually for the month of February, they have for free one of their programs, Black History, Black Freedom, and Black Love. It's a three-part series. It's, I think, 10 hours altogether, and you'll have information on your instructors are Jelani Cobb, Kimberly Crenshaw Williams, Cornell West, John McWhorter, Sherilyn Eiffel, Angela Davis. Oh my God, she is still the queen. But again, it's for the month of February, and it's master class. And if you go onto master class's website and you type in the Black History, and you'll actually see the graphic there for it. Once you click on, you just put in your email and stuff, and you can watch it for free. But it's just for that one is just for the month of February for Black History Month, and it's so good. I have been watching it regularly, and I have a few more episodes left. I think I have maybe about 4 more hours left because it's 10 hours total. So don't try to sit there and watch it all at once. You've got to be able to take it in. But again, just wanted to make sure you folks had that. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'll see everybody next Monday. Take care, folks.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.